Hello. I'm Camden Walker with Capital Weather Gang at the Tidal Basin. I'm joined by the preeminent cherry blossom experts,
Mike Litters from the National Park Service.
We are going to take your questions on everything cherry blossoms. We have lots to tell you. We are right near peak blossom, and we will peak bloom, and we'll also talk about the weather week ahead. But first, I want to let you all know, if you're not following the National Park Service on the Mall, that's their Twitter handle. Let's see, in National Mall MPS. So at National Mall MPS, they have announced, and Mike has announced, it is stage 5 of 6. That's correct, right?
Correct. The next stage is peak bloom, and all indications we'll probably hit that tomorrow.
Now, there's not a single moment. We want to tell people that once it hits bloom, that's just the beginning.
Correct. It's not the summer solstice. There's not a moment in time where we know that's going to happen. It's simply an assessment of where we are with the trees. Yep. When we determine that 70% of the Yoshino trees around the tidal blossom have reached peak bloom, then we'll call it at that stage.
Awesome. So what are your weather concerns in general and this year? We have some wind this year. We've had some frosts and freezes in past years. Do you have any concerns now or recently in recent past with the cherry trees?
We don't really have concerns for 51 out of the 52 weeks a year. The trees themselves are very hardy, so we get questions about, can the trees survive a hard frost?
Yes.
Some of these trees have been out here for more than 100 years. The trees themselves are good. When we get concerned is when the blossoms are out, either just as they're emerging, in which case we do not want a hard frost. That happened somewhat famously or infamously a couple years ago.
Yes, it did.
Temperatures 27 or below, once we hit stage 5 or once the blossoms are out, that can kill off the bloom.
Not in the forecast. We should stay warmer than that.
It's chilly today, going to be cold tonight, but not going to get there. We probably lost about half of the blossoms in 2017 because of that.
Sure.
And once the trees are in bloom, what we really don't want to see is any severe weather.
Right.
High winds, heavy rains, anything that can bring those fragile blossoms down earlier than we'd like to see. So a little breezy out today, few petals that we're seeing on the ground, but for the most part, because they're just emerging, they're still strong and they're still hanging on.
That is perfect. That's really good information. And I just saw a question come in from Drew. Will tonight's low temperatures have much of an impact on the cherry blossoms? And we don't think. Mike just mentioned how 27 or below is where we get worried. So Drew, we're not seeing a temperature below 30 degrees here on the tidal basin.
And we usually get a bump of a degree or two from the water.
Yes.
So whatever they're calling it national, usually we're a couple degrees above that.
That's awesome. So, microclimate. All right.
Yeah. So we are not concerned about tonight unless something completely unexpected happens.
Thank you. All right. So Mike is assuring you, Drew, good to go. And for those who are looking behind us, we're at stage 5 of 6, which is called
Puffy
white. So we're at 5 of 6. And you're confident tomorrow we can announce peak bloom. You think you all would be able to?
Correct. And again, it's the totality of what we're seeing all around the tidal basin. This tree is obviously in full blossom.
Okay, so this is peak behind us.
took a lap yesterday afternoon in those warm, beautiful temperatures that we had. We were easily probably 50 or 60%. There were some holdouts on the west side of the tidal basin, just between the FDR and MLK memorials. Some of those trees were still in peduncle elongation, which was actually
my favorite
stage 4.
Yep.
But yesterday's temperature certainly moved them along. We'll get out tomorrow morning early, take a look. I expect we'll make that call sometime before noon tomorrow.
Thank you so much. And rest assured, Mike has told me to, once it starts, we have a few days, right, to enjoy it.
Correct. This is not a moment in time situation again. It's not a matter of if you're not down here tomorrow, you'll miss it. Under ideal conditions, if we don't get those high winds or heavy rains, we'll hold these blossoms for a week, 10 days. Everything really works, maybe a couple of weeks.
Right.
What's going on right now is exactly what we want. We want the temperatures to cool off, much like the warmer temperatures speed us through the cycles.
Yes.
If it cools off just as peak bloom comes, we'll hold the blossoms before they move on to the leaves. So everything's lining up very well right now to have a nice blossom into next weekend and beyond.
I am so happy to hear that. I know you all are as well. Now let's do a quick recap of the near-term weather conditions. It is cold. Mike, look at this. We're below 50 here on the tidal basin, 48.8. but you're telling me that slows
with a
it
stiff
down.
wind.
With a stiff wind. It is a little hard. Both of us are admitting, and I want to admit to you, it's a little hard to dress for. There's a cloud that goes behind the sun, which now is setting tonight for the first time at 7:30 p.m. for the season, which is a cool trivia fact. But it is cold here with the clouds. 48 is just the air temperature, and there are some gusts. So let's talk about the change in the last 24 hours. It's been 20 or more degrees cooler than just 24 hours ago. Look at these wind gusts. These high gusts are probably peaking late this afternoon into early this evening and slowly waning late tonight into tomorrow, but I'm not going to say that tomorrow won't have some wind gusts as well. Look at these wind chills tomorrow morning. This is not air temperature, just wind chill, around the 20s for most of us. So please, really bundle up tomorrow. We're talking 20s tomorrow morning, and it's a little bit of a shock. But by afternoon, the winds are waning. Upper 40s to low 50s will actually feel like it, so don't worry too much. If you're a warm weather lover, you should see some warm weather as we end the week, maybe an isolated raindrop on Tuesday. So please keep that in mind, that right now it is chilly. We're feeling well below our 62-degree average high temperature for tomorrow. We're not going to see that in the near term, but Mike Laturst is telling me that we are kind of seeing what we want, right? The blossoms are going to slow their peak viewing if we cool it down for a little bit.
Correct. We had those temperatures in the 70s on Friday and Saturday. That really moved us through the final stages. What we want to see now for the next 3, 4, 5 days, seasonal temperatures maybe a little below average. Keep these blossoms on before we move into the leaves.
Perfect. All right. So you heard it here. Follow us on Twitter at Capital Weather, and make sure you follow them at National Mall NPS. They just announced a couple days ago that we're in stage 5 of 6, which is called
Puffy white.
And then just peak bloom, right?
Peak bloom is stage 6.
Excellent. All right. Let us know if you have any other questions or concerns. We are happy to say, and I'm learning more with Mike Laturst, that it is a hardy tree, that things are pretty okay at this point. The wind is not knocking the blossoms off just yet, but they might. If we have wind later this week, which we're not currently expecting, that's when you are concerned.
Correct. Right? If we had this kind of gusty wind, say Thursday or Friday of this week, as the blossoms, were starting to weaken a little bit, we'd have a nice shower of white petals coming down. But I was pleasantly surprised coming out here this afternoon to see that really is not the case today.
Me too. It's looking great down here, and you have a few days. Peak starts tomorrow. And how long before the cherry blossoms transition to leaves? Well, a couple are transitioning to leaves behind us, Drew, but you're asking for probably the overall average here in the tidal basin?
Average 7 to 10 days.
After the peak,
right? After we get to peak bloom. For the early emerging trees like this one, yesterday when it got to, I don't know what the high was yesterday, 76, 79. That's, this tree probably yesterday morning wasn't showing much green at all. Whole day of 79 moved some of the blossoms right on out.
All right.
Speaking of gusts,
there's our real-time weather reports from here in the tidal basin. I'm Camden Walker for Capital Weather Gang, joined by
Mike Laturst from the National Park Service.
Mike is a local like I am. We have been enjoying cherry blossoms basically all our life. Mike, you've been the spokesperson for 5 years now?
This is my 5th cherry blossom season. First
Excellent.
cherry blossom was 2015, and that year, very much like this year, we made the prediction about 5-6 weeks out and hit it pretty much right on the nose.
Awesome.
So some years the forecasting is right on. Some years gets a little bumpy with late season frost or even snow.
Agreed. March is being very Marchy this year, and you may have seen in our April Outlook. Go to CWG.news/AprilOutlook. We are thinking things remain a little volatile, but on balance for April, we generally are going to be warmer and wetter, with some of these windier, cooler days not being out of the question as well. So keep that in mind, and anytime you need us, we're on the blog, CapitalWeatherGang.com. We're on Twitter at Capital Weather. I'm joined by Mike Laturst from the National Park Service. He is the cherry blossom expert. Before we move over to Facebook in 2 or 3 minutes, let us know if you have any questions. And I'm starting to see some little green buds, says Drew, pop up on trees in my neighborhood. Yes, some of those are going to be happening. Those trees are going to warm up from the sunshine. The sun is getting nice and warm, and our average high temperature is now 62 degrees starting tomorrow for April 1st, which, well, I guess we have April 1st coming tomorrow. It is here. So, Mike, What do you see with the crowds this year? Do we have the weather impacting crowds at all? Overall, the crowd's still about average.
Yesterday the crowds were immense.
Yeah, I bet 79 degrees.
It was sort of that harmonic convergence of it was a Saturday, the weather was gorgeous. We were not quite at peak, but about half of the trees were
Close
out.
enough, yeah.
And I think with people yesterday realizing the forecast for today was not nearly as nice, with rain in the morning and then chillier temperatures.
Right.
It brought everybody out yesterday, and it's just the greatest time in DC.
It is.
It's
What did you call it? The Super Bowl?
It's our Super Bowl.
Yep.
It's DC's grandest springtime tradition.
It is.
For at least a week or so, there's no red, there's no blue. Everybody's concentrating on pink.
Exactly right. That is our color right now. Thank you all for joining us. I'm going to move us over to Facebook in just a moment. Let's take a last temperature reading here on YouTube, 49.3. The sun is luckily coming back out. I'm Camden Walker, joined by Mike Litterst, National Park Service spokesperson and cherry blossom expert. So if you have any other questions or comments, and we're going to go over the weather recap as well for the week ahead, come on over to CWG.news/Facebook Live in a few moments. We'll head over there. Thanks for joining us here on YouTube.